I'm now recording. We're about to begin chapter 10. So one of the things I don't want you to forget about is on D2L, under content, there are some things there for you that could benefit you. One of which is the PowerPoints. One of which is review question answers for the end of the chapters. Some different things to help you with your test. But we're going to start, and today this is a way of me remembering to do it once in a while to show you what's in the PowerPoints to help you go through the course. All right, so let's see what's going on. Chapter 10 is something called inheritance. And in doing chapter 10, this is going to help make some of the stuff from chapter 12 make a little bit more sense. So let's see what we have going on in chapter 10. Discuss the following topics. Blah, 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 blah. That's what that means to all of you right now. There used to be a show, Charlie Brown, and that's how he would think his teacher sounded after a while. Womp, 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 womp. Couldn't understand anything because weren't really paying attention. So some of you probably don't even know who Charlie Brown is. But anyhow, hopefully at the end of the chapter, if we come back to this page, you'll understand everything that's in there. Inheritance. Inheritance is something we're going to take a look at where I'm going to have this generalization. Okay, for example, let's say pets or animals. Animals. If I just said describe an animal, you might have 4 legs, you might have a tail. So that would be a generalization of an animal. And then we start looking at a dog. A dog is a animal, right? It has 4 legs, it has a tail, but a dog has other characteristics that follow along instead. You see here we have insects, the general category of an insect, and then grasshoppers and bumblebees, they are insects. So as we go through this chapter 10, you're going to notice where we start with generalized things, and then we're going to build upon it. We're going to create a class that's a generalized class, and then we're going to have specific classes that are going to, and this is where that word inheritance comes in. It inherits all of the properties of the generalized class. And then we could keep repeating that as we went through. Hopefully, the 14 or 15 out of 18 of you that did the code listings have a little bit of an understanding of what I'm talking about coming into this. All right, oh, there I went too fast. Now I'm starting to take a look at this. You don't really have to know this, but all of a sudden I want you to remember it because this is going to come back to look a little bit like the UML charts later. All right. Again, I said a grasshopper is an insect. A dog is an animal kind of deal. Okay. So we're going to take a look at what that means in a minute. Here's a word that is going to come into play, extends. And I actually think we've seen this word before, extends. And it's not going to go away. We did see it in chapter 12, where we were able to extend something. So what are we looking at? Inheritance involves what we're going to call a superclass and a subclass. The superclass is the general, the sub is the one that becomes a little bit more specific. We also refer to the superclass as a base class and a derived class. We also talk about a parent and a child. Most of the time we'll use the term superclass and a subclass. So now you know why I didn't write everything down in notes, because it's much easier to just show you what's going on in here. All right, so you've done the code listings. You've typed in the superclass called final exam, the subclass called final exam. It extends to superclass graded activity, which means everything that is public and graded activity, I can now use in the class final exam. It all becomes part of it. So it's like expanding on graded activity, and I add things by creating a subclass final exam. Can't use the private members though. Can use everything up there that's public. can use the gets, it can use the sets, and so on. So a really good example is the UML charts again. So up above, I have graded activity. I have a private field called score. I have 3 publics, methods to go along with it. Now, do I need access to score? No, I don't, because I have the sets and gets as needed. So when I'm down in final exam, I can use the sets and gets. So some of you typed in graded activity. Well, most of you. Do you remember what graded activity did? If I have a score on a test of 68, I did get grade. What would my grade be?
D.
Yeah. What'd I say, 78? Grade of C, right. So get grade gives me that character C. This is one of those, if we were in a classroom, it'd be nice to have posters and hang up some of this stuff, because as we go through this chapter, we're going to use and keep extending and doing other things to super classes. Final exam. Final exam has how many methods?
3.
3. And guess again. This is fun.
Wow.
6.
And I like this game. That was a great guess, though. How many methods does it have? Yeah, buddy.
5.
5. Thank you, Tyler. What's not a method that somebody thought was? Or is that
Final,
the-
the constructor.
Yeah, the constructor, right? In final exam, the constructor final exam is not a method. So if I create an object of type final exam, I now have 5 methods available to it. Okay, because I'm extending graded activity, which means I'm allowed to use it. Are you with me? All right, so you typed in, tell me if I'm right or not, you typed in graded activity, graded demo, final exam, and final exam demo. That was 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.4. Is that not correct?
Correct.
Correct, okay. And do you have any questions of what's going on in there? I don't have them here. I can stop sharing, show them in my book real quick to make sure we understand what's going on in those code listings. Stop share. I'm going to change my camera to this one. I'm going to view speaker, and I'm going to get my hands on here so I can see me. And there's my note, test review, just in case you were wondering if I was just talking or not. Graded activity from the UML chart. We had these 3 methods going on with it. That was 10.1. Okay, the one method I asked about, I'm gonna have to get a new book, was the get grade. Get grade comes in and it uses score and it returns a letter grade. So that is all that grade does. Here's grade demo, right? I come in, I there it is. Instantiate an object here called grade, is of type graded activity. I get a score, put it in, returns a letter grade for me. Boom. Nice and easy. Something that you could have done back in CPS 121. The next thing we add is the second class called final exam. Does have a constructor, only has 1, and that's the number of questions and the number of missed. So for this final exam, if it was 100 questions and you missed 8, how many did you get right? 100 questions, you missed 8.
92.
92, right? So I can either use the constructor or I can do some work here. I can get the points each. So if it was 20 questions, it would be 5 points each and so on. Get number missed. But this will then, because I'm extending graded activity, will also let me, once I get the percentage I want, go and find out if it's a letter, what the letter grade is. I can go and set the score and I can get the letter grade. So if I get ready and check out this bad boy, oh, there it is, this bad boy, I find points each, I find the score, what they got, I call set score, so that score up in my super class is now set. So this will help me set the score. That way, when the time comes, if I want to go and get the letter grade, I can. So if I take a look at the actual program, I create an object called exam. It's of type final exam. Remember, that extends graded activity. I come in and I do some work. This is going to display everything, but I'm using the constructor here. I ask for all of my input here. Okay, any questions of how they all interact? And again, here is the UML chart. Here's my super class. Here's my subclass.
So just to verify, when you say extend something, that's the class that's being inherited.
Right. Final exam will be the subclass. It extends graded activity.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, it's unwritten, but graded activity is a subclass of the master class. There's one we'll talk about in a little bit that's up here above graded activity, that graded active. So whenever I instantiate a class, if I don't extend a class, this original class does in fact extend something. And again, we'll talk about that later. And one of the things that's up there in that Grand Poobah class is a 2-string. It's the default 2-string. Okay, moving right along. Members of the superclass that are private, nope, they don't go to the subclass or anything like that. So hopefully it's well written that the methods in the superclass will allow me to access the private members. All right, good. Here we go, final exam. Exam set score 85, good. Set score 85 and get score. So if I go back up, set score will let me go up here, get score will go to there. And again, this is a final exam. So this is an object of the subclass, but I'm able to use set score and get score. Click, click. It was an object of final exam, but I'm allowed to use set score and get score. Cool. Okay. All right, let's talk about constructors, going with the basics. How do I deal with constructors? If I have a constructor in a subclass and I want to use the constructor in the superclass, I'm going to put the word super in front of it. I don't think you had to do superclass 2, subclass 2, that, but you did rectangle, cube, and cube demo. Is that correct?
Yes, those were in the code listing.
Yes. Rectangle. Where did you go to get rectangle? Or did you just skip it?
I just quickly wrote up my own.
Okay. Rectangle was back in chapter 6. So those of you that from 121, you should be able to find rectangle. Somebody might want to go grab it and put it on the discussion board real quick because you don't like paying attention to me. Nathan, I'm just teasing. Okay, so we have rectangle, and then we have cube, which is going to be a subclass of rectangle, and then we have cube demo. So we have the superclass rectangle. If you think about a rectangle is 2 dimensions, length and width. If you think about a cube, that's 3 dimensions. It's going to add that extra dimension on there.
What the fuck are you talking about?
So now we're looking at rectangle. Did anybody find it? Did anybody have the real rectangle? Will the real rectangle come on down?
It's in chapter 6.
Yep. If somebody can grab it and put it on the discussion board under our chapter 10, that would be just great. All right, rectangle. We lived and died by rectangle in chapter 6. We even went and did mulch after that. And then we made mulch 3 dimensions and 2 instead of 2. But here was rectangle, length and width. I had one constructor. And there, it looks like there's a typo in there. Okay. I had set length, set width, get width, and get area. Nice and simple. Agree? Now I have cube, which is a subclass. Cube has one new field member, height, because I already have length and width from up above. So if I'm going to extend rectangle, I don't need a new length and width. All I need to do is add height. I can build upon it. I have a constructor cube, which has 3 values coming in. I have get height. What else should be inside of there that's not? If I have up here, I have all my sets and gets. If I have get height, what else should I have in here? A set height, right? Wouldn't it be great if there was a set height, but they left it out? And there should also be an L there that was left out. So now cube has how many methods available to an object that I would instantiate of type cube? How many methods would be available?
Eight.
8. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Thank you. Has 8 available. Boy, these UML charts are crap.
Castaño solo chio sabe.
Keep going.
Top.
I don't know if that was JoJo. I'm going to gallery view to see who. Ibrahim, why are you singing?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I like a little singing once in a while. All right, let's see what we have going on. Ta-da-ta-ta-ta. As I mentioned a moment ago, we are talking about how to deal with the constructor when I don't need to do everything, but I can. So here's my constructor. I come in with len instead of L because people think it's a 1. Len, W, and H. This is the constructor in my cube class. I come in and I take the first 2. The very first thing I do is call my super. I can't do it second or third. If I'm going to call super, I have to do it right away. I'm going to send len up and I'm going to send W up, and those 2 fields are filled. And of course, then I fill my third one, height. So if I want to use my supers constructor, I could do this. What would be another thing I could put instead of line 20? Instead of super, len, and W, I could say, let's see, up in my super class, I have a set length and I have a set width. So I could just call those 2 methods to set the values as well. But instead, I have this len and W, super len W, which means, hey, jump up to my super class. I'm going to call its constructor. Whatever len is going to go in the first parameter in the parameter list. Whatever W is will go in the second parameter of the parameter list. Cool. I come down and I start taking a look at my cube class. And what is wrong with line number 44? What would the surface area be? It's not get area times 6. Because if you think about a cube, you know, I got my dimensions going here, and I don't have 6 of the same surface areas, do I? No, because my length, width, and height can all be different. So this formula right here, does anybody know what formula should go there?
Length times width times height.
That would give me volume. That wouldn't give me surface area. Well, the front would be, let's see, the length times the height, and the front and back are both length times the height. The sides would be width times the height, and the tops would be length times the width. So there's 2 length widths, there's 2 width heights, there's 2 length heights. So that formula is actually messed up. Check out our use of get volume. Ha ha ha. I'm using a method from my superclass, and I'm going to multiply it by height. So that gives me the volume. Because my get area was length times width from up above. Now I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to get my height. And of course, we have a cube demo. In the demo, I call the constructor. I know in my constructor, I call the supers constructor. Okay. And then I set my height. And now I'm able to get all those values I want and print them out. Questions? I want to go back to the PowerPoint. All right, calling the superclass constructor. We just talked about it. And we're going to stop right there. We will start with overriding methods on Monday. For now, what I want you to do is the following. Let me get my notes over here. So I want you to, now that you have rectangle, somebody hopefully shared it and everybody has it. We have cube and we have cube demo. I want you to go in individually. We're not going to go into groups. I want you to fix the surface area. That's one. I want you to include that set height that we saw was missing, because we want to make this perfect and up and running. I want you to add a constructor in your cube that has a single parameter coming in. And you're going to set the length, the width, and the height all to be the same. And then finally, I want you to put a toString in the subclass, in cube. I want you to put a toString. So 4 things: fix surface area, include set height, add a constructor in cube that only has 1 parameter. And I want you to go and bring back toString. That was chapter 8. Okay, we talked about it a little bit already this year. And put a toString in your subclass so that in our demo, we can just display the object.